today comes from Genesis, chapter 18, verses 1 through 15, and then chapter 21, verses 1 through 6. This is the story that's known as the birth of Isaac. And to give you a little bit of background, and probably most of you are familiar with the characters of Sarah and Abraham in our Bible. They are a very old couple that are living in the land of Ur, which is now somewhere in modern-day Iraq. And out of the blue, God comes to them and says, leave everything and come to this promised land that I want for you and for your descendants. Palestine is the land that God intends for them. And this is rather astonishing because Abraham and Sarah have no descendants. They're childless. They're very old, but they decide to go in faith and go on this trip. And they go and they go and they go. We read that still there's no descendants. They wonder what's going on. They figure, well, maybe it's Abraham's manservant. That was commonly would be the prodigy if there wasn't a child. But God says, nope, that's not it. Then they think, well, perhaps if Abraham bears a child with Sarah's handmaiden, Hagar, that was also considered legal what you did, and that happens, but God says, that's a wonderful child, and I will provide for him, but nope, that's not it. I have something else up my sleeve for you. And what happens? Well, we find out about that in our story today. The Lord appeared to Abraham by the oaks of Mamre, as he sat at the entrance of his tent in the heat of the day. He looked up and saw 3 men standing near him. When he saw them, he ran from the tent entrance to meet them and bowed to the ground. He said, my Lord, if I find favor with you, do not pass by your servant. Let a little water be brought, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. Let me bring you a little bread, that you may refresh yourselves, and after that you may pass on, since you have come to your servant. So they said, do as you have said. And Abraham hastened into the tent to Sarah and said, make ready quickly 3 measures of choice flour, knead it, and make cakes. Abraham ran to the herd and took a calf, tender and good, and gave it to the servant who hastened to prepare it. And he took curds and milk and the calf that he had prepared and set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree while they ate. Then he said to them, then they said to him, where is your wife, Sarah? And Abraham said, there in the tent. Then one of them said, I will surely return to you in due season, and your wife Sarah shall have a son. And Sarah was listening at the tent entrance behind him. Now Sarah and Abraham were old, advanced in age. It had ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. So Sarah laughed to herself, saying, after I have grown old and my husband is old, shall I have pleasure? The Lord said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh and say, shall I indeed bear a child now that I am old? Is anything too wonderful for the Lord? At the set time I will return to you in due season, and Sarah shall have a son. But Sarah denied, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. He said, oh yes, you did laugh. Then the Lord dealt with Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did for Sarah as he had promised. Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the time of which God had spoken to him. Abraham gave the name Isaac to his son, whom Sarah bore him, and Abraham circumcised his son Isaac when he was 8 days old, as God commanded him. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born. Now Sarah said, God has brought laughter for me. Everyone who hears will laugh with me. This is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God.